The honourable member for Grande, Prairie-Wapiti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, the Minister of Economic Development and Trade signed the new Canadian Free Trade Agreement. The government promises that the CFTA will make it easier for Alberta business to get their goods and services to the Canadian markets. However, many issues remain unsolved from this new deal, including food labelling, trucking regulations, and movement of professional and tradespeople. To the Minister of Economic Development, what is your plan to work with other provinces to solve the gaps in this new CFTA?
The Honourable Minister of Economic Development and Trade.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'll thank the member for the question. This new free trade agreement, the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, was about 2.5 years worth of negotiations where Alberta, for decades, has been disadvantaged compared to market access in other provinces and other jurisdictions. So what the previous government did was negotiate an agreement that opened up Alberta's borders and markets so other provinces' businesses can compete in Alberta, yet it wasn't reciprocated. Our businesses didn't have the same opportunity. This new free trade agreement levels that playing field.
For supplemental. For supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that Alberta's exports to the rest of Canada totaled $63 billion in 2015, but given that trucking regulations across the country remain unharmonized, which hampers movements of goods across the country, and given that the new signed CFTA offers no new mechanisms enabling businesses to operate in multiple Canadian jurisdictions, to the Minister of Transportation, when will we see synchronized trucking regulations with the rest of Canada?
Minister of Economic Development and Trade.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll thank the member for the question. This is one of those issues that, again, that table, the Canadian Free Trade or the provincial territorial trade ministers we're trying to work through. There are a number of outstanding issues that we weren't able to resolve in that round of negotiations. There are a number of tables that will be followed up on. Our work is not done. I recognize, Mr. Speaker, that the issue that the member raised is a challenge for companies, and so we are committed to continuing to work with our partners across this country to resolve as many issues as we can, if not all of them, Mr.
Thank
Speaker.
you, Honourable Minister. Second supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that the trucking industry in Canada and the U.S. is a vital component to the multimodal transportation sector, and given that the regulatory differences between Canada and the U.S. prevent the trucking industry from operating at peak performance, to the Minister of Transportation, what's left to improve compatibility with the U.S., and how are you working with the federal minister to fix it?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll thank the member again for his very, very good questions. There's a number of things that we are doing, not only working with the federal government, Mr. Speaker, but again, working with our other counterparts provincially across this country. We recognize that obviously Alberta is an export province. We need to get our goods to market. And so we are looking at all the different modes of transport and how we can make it easier and to be more competitive to get our goods and services to the coast, whether it's via trucks or elsewhere. There's a number of outlets that we have.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Thank you.